Hi everybody. We're going to talk today about converting equations of circles and even graphing them. You've graphed circles in the past, so really this is not that big of a concept. But the key is to understanding how to go from what we call general form, that's this top equation. All right, we'll call that general form. Okay, to what we call here standard form. And in standard form, we have a center, h comma k, that's easily identifiable, and a radius of r. Okay, so these, when you're in standard form, this information is easily obtained, but in general form, it's not. So what we need to be able to do is convert from one form to the other, and that's the purpose of this demonstration today. Okay, so here we have an equation in general form, and we want to convert it to standard form. We do that by a process called completing the square. Okay, in our first step of this process, all right, step one is to group common variables. Okay, so I'm going to the x squared and the 4x we're going to put next to each other. And what I like to do after I do that is like to put a blank in behind it because we are going to fill something into this spot. Then I do plus the y squared. Notice the 10y goes with it. Plus another blank equals. Okay, and I'm going to erase this stuff over here now that we'll get back to our steps in a minute. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to subtract the 29 from both sides as well. So I'm going to do a minus 29, okay, and that'll give me 36 minus 29 is what, 7? Okay, equal to 7, and then I'm going to put a plus blank behind it as well. Okay, so we're going to fill in these three blanks. And to fill in those blanks, what we do is we take this middle term, okay, in this case 4, and what we're going to do is we're going to divide that negative 4 by 2, and we're going to square it, and that goes in this spot. Okay, and that's actually equal to 4. Okay, so we're going to put a 4 here. You know what? We have 2 blanks on this side. We actually need 2 blanks on that side. Okay, so sorry about that. So for every blank that's on the left, you need the same number of blanks on the right. Now to fill in this blank, we take this value, the y value, and divide it by 2. So that would be negative 10 divided by 2, and then we square it. So that would be 25. And so we also add a 25 back over here. All right, everybody okay so far? Let me just repeat that again. To fill in this blank, we divided the 4 by 2, and then we squared it. And we filled it in, and then we also put its equal value on the other side to maintain balance. Then we do it again here. We take this number, divided it by 2, and squared it, put it here, and then added it to the other side to maintain balance once again. Okay, so now we've got this long equation. Now this side is pretty straightforward because 7 plus 4 is 11 plus 25. So that side turns back into 36. Okay, now what we're going to do to this side, and the purpose of doing this is called completing the square. Believe it or not, this guy and this guy are perfect square trinomials, which we factored earlier in the year. So x squared minus 4x plus 4 is a perfect square trinomial, and y squared minus 10y plus 25 is a perfect square trinomial. So what we're going to do is we're going to factor each of these two trinomials to get our answer, to get to standard form. To remember, to factor, really all you do is you take whatever the variable is, as in this case x, and this number, the b value of the quadratic, divided by 2. So you take this number divided by 2, negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2, and then you put a square outside parentheses. Okay, once again, you take whatever variable is, write it, and then you take this number and divide it by 2 and write it with a square. Pardon me for that sneeze. And then do plus, because that's the sign separating the parentheses. And then we do the same process with the y. Notice we have a y variable, so we write that. Then we have the negative 10 that we divide by 2. So negative 10 divided by 2 is 5. And then we put a square outside the parentheses. And then, of course, it equals this 36. And notice this is the standard form of a circle. Okay, giving us a center of this number, comma, this number, center of 2, comma 5, and a radius is the square root of this number, so the radius would equal 6. Okay? Now, of course, graphing that is pretty straightforward. I'll pull in a little piece of graph paper here. All right, and so we plot 2, comma 5. So 2, comma 5, and it looks like I'm going to run out of room with this grid. But then we count out, that's the center, and we count out 6 boxes in every direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. 6. And of course, obviously, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 will be up here somewhere. And then as best you can, you just make a general sketch of the circle going through the points that you plotted. Okay, it wasn't perfect here, but you get the general idea. Okay? So let's look at one more example of this, completing the square. Notice here we're in general form again. So once again, we start by grouping the like terms. So I'm going to bring the 10x and the x squared together. And then I'm going to leave a blank, because that's what we fill in. Plus the y squared. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, this should not be a 27. This should be a 2y. Okay. So that's minus 2y. And then we move the 17 to the other side of the equal sign. So then we do plus blank. I'm sorry. Hold on. Let me fix that. La la la. All right. So over here we'd have a negative 17 and then a plus blank plus blank. Okay. Pretty straightforward, right? Very good. So now again, we fill in our blanks. To do that, for the first blank, we take the number here, divide it by 2, so negative 10 over 2 squared, and that's 25. And if we put it here, we put it here as well, and it's matching blank on the other side. For this spot, we do negative 2 divided by 2 squared, and that's just a 1. And so we put a 1 over here. All right, we okay? So let me repeat that. We divide this number by 2 and square it, put it here and here for balance. Then we divide this number by 2 and square it, we put it here and here for balance. Okay? Now again, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to factor the two sets of trinomials that we have. And if we factor this one, it's a perfect square trinomial, and that's the whole point of putting this number here, is to make it a perfect square. You take this variable, and then this number divided by 2, so minus 5 squared, plus, then you take this variable, and this number divided by 2, and then put a square outside the parentheses. And of course, we simplify this side. Okay, negative 17 plus 26 is 9. And there we have our circle, the equation in standard form. It's all about completing the square. So, our center is 5, 1, and our radius is 3. Let's graph it, just for kicks. So 5, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. And then we have a radius of 3. So count out 3 in each direction and put a point. Like so. And then, of course, we draw our circle. And make it as round as you can, etc. Okay? And there we go. This equation represents this circle. And that is it for today. Thank you very much on this video. We'll practice these more.